If this story stirred something in your heart, give it a like. Share your thoughts below and subscribe to Revenge with Luke, where every story reminds us that pain can lead to power. I found my boss's cufflink on her desk, its silver gleam a silent slap. It wasn't just the cufflink that broke me. It was knowing they'd planned to bury me while I slaved for the firm. My name's Nathan Lyle, 46, a senior portfolio manager at a financial services firm in Denver, Colorado. Life was a steady climb. A $720,000 house in Cherry Creek, an investment portfolio hitting $1,050,000, and a marriage that felt like a warm bourbon after a long day. Caitlin, my wife, was 37, a risk analyst at the same firm with a smile that could calm a market crash and a mind that sliced through data like a blade. We'd been married 11 years, no kids, just a Labrador named Cooper, and a shared love for hiking the Rockies. We'd trek at dawn, her teasing my pace, me stealing her trail mix. Perfect right work was my proving ground. I'd spent 18 years at the firm managing $20 million in client portfolios. We pulled $100 million in revenue last year, enough to keep me at $150,000 plus bonuses. My boss, Curtis Holbrook, was the VP of Investments, 48, a bulldog in a tailored suit, with a glare that closed deals and a knack for intimidating staff. We'd started together, him a mentor, me, his shadow, sharing beers after big wins. He'd pushed me to senior manager, slapped my back at my promotion, called me his anchor. I trusted him like steel. Caitlin joined the firm 6 years ago, her risk models revolutionizing our strategies. Curtis took her under his wing, same as me, guiding her through boardroom politics. We'd all hit happy hour at Union Station, Curtis spinning stories, Caitlin smirking but engaged. I'd watch them, proud of our trio, thinking we'd built a fortress. I was blind. It started small. Curtis began sidelining me. A $5 million portfolio for a tech startup went to a junior team. You're too valuable for small stakes, Nate, he said, his smile tight, his eyes on his phone. I brushed it off. Then my performance review got delayed. Board swamped. Curtis muttered, avoiding my gaze. Caitlin noticed too. He's acting weird, she said one night, chopping carrots for stew. Push back. I shrugged. Just office noise. I'm Nathan Lyle, I solve markets, not moods. Then the cracks deepened. Caitlin's hours stretched, risk audits keeping her at the office past 8 p.m. Her phone buzzed constantly. Her replies curt. Client stuff, she'd say, her eyes on her screen. Curtis was scarce too, canceling our strategy sessions, claiming investor meetings. I text drinks tonight. He'd reply, buried, maybe next week. Cooper started pacing when I got home alone. Caitlin still at the firm. She'd return at 10 p.m., her blouse slightly creased, her perfume lavender new, hitting me like a stranger's. Just deadlines, she'd murmur, heading to the shower. I'm not a paranoid man. I trust numbers, trends, data. But suspicion's a slow poison. One night I couldn't sleep. Caitlin was working late again. I checked her location, shared for safety. Her phone was at the Brown Palace Hotel, not the office. My chest tightened. A client dinner, maybe. I called. Voicemail. Texted Curtis casual, you guys still at it? His reply came fast, done by 6, home now. My gut burned. He was lying. The next morning I crossed a line. While Caitlin showered, I grabbed her phone from the kitchen counter. Her lock screen was us hiking, smiling. Passcode our wedding date, 0804. I opened her emails. Nothing overt. Client threads, risk reports. Then I saw a calendar invite from Curtis titled Portfolio Review, 9 p.m. last night at the Brown Palace. No other attendees. I checked her texts. A message from Curtis, 10 p.m. Left my cufflink in your office. Grab it tomorrow. My hands shook. A cufflink. In her office or a hotel room, I put the phone down as the shower stopped. Caitlin walked in, towel-wrapped, humming. You're up early, she said, smiling. I forced a nod, my throat dry. Big day. I went to work, my mind a hurricane. Curtis was in his office on a call, his cufflink silver monogrammed on his sleeve. Caitlin was at her desk typing, her earrings, new gold hoops I hadn't seen before. I wanted to confront them, smash his desk, demand answers. But I'm not that guy. I'm the one who plans, who strikes when the moment's right. I started watching. Curtis's investor meetings were smoke, no agendas, no logs. Caitlin's calendar mirrored his late nights, off-site briefings. I called our IT guy, Ethan Walsh, a friend from my early days. Can you pull email logs? I asked, keeping it quiet. He hesitated, then nodded. Give me a day. I went back to my desk, smiled through meetings, and played my part. Curtis clapped my shoulder, joking about markets. Caitlin brought me coffee, her fingers brushing mine. I nodded, my eyes cold, my plan forming. Ethan's report was a gut punch. Curtis and Caitlin had a private email chain encrypted off company servers. Dozens of exchanges late night, some from hotel IPs. I cross-checked timestamps. Last week they'd both logged in from the Brown Palace at 10 p.m. My wife, my boss, in a hotel room while I sat home with Cooper, oblivious. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional. I didn't confront them. Rage is loud. Revenge is silent. I hired a private investigator, Lauren Pierce, a former cop with a knack for discretion. I need proof, I told her, handing over $5,000. Workplace conspiracy. She didn't flinch. 2 weeks, she said. You'll have it. I went back to the office, nodded at Curtis's pitches, reviewed Caitlin's risk models. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Lauren was fast. By day 5, she had photos. Curtis and Caitlin leaving a client lunch, his hand on her elbow, her smile too warm. Another shot them in the Brown Palace's lobby, her head tilted toward him, his arm around her waist. The kicker, a bar receipt, 11 p.m., 2 whiskeys, Curtis's corporate card. I stared at the evidence, my coffee cold. 18 years at this firm, 11 with Caitlin, all unraveling in a 4x6 print. I could have stormed Curtis's office, thrown the photos in his face, watched him stammer. Or waited for Caitlin at home, demanded the truth. But that's what they'd expect, a fight, excuses, tears. I wanted more. I wanted them to feel the ground shift the way mine had. So I dug deeper. Lauren's next report was a bombshell. Curtis wasn't just undermining me. He was sabotaging the company. He'd been inflating portfolio fees, pocketing $200,000 through fake vendor invoices. Caitlin's risk models, pristine on the surface, hid the discrepancies. I met my lawyer, Greg Vaughn, at a dive bar near Lodo. Can we nail him? I asked, sliding Lauren's files across the table. Greg's eyes lit up. Embezzlement, fraud, this is prison time. But we need more. Bank records, witnesses. I nodded. I'll get them. Back at the office, I worked late, pulling financial logs, cross-referencing invoices. Curtis wasn't careful. He'd used his work email to coordinate payments, thinking no one would check. Arrogant bastard. Caitlin sensed something. That night, she leaned against the kitchen counter, her arms crossed. You're distant, Nate. What's wrong? Her eyes were soft, almost pleading. I almost bought it. Just work, I said, my voice flat. Curtis is piling it on. She frowned, stepped closer. Talk to me. I looked at her, the woman I'd built a life with, and saw a stranger. I'm fine, I said, turning away. She didn't push, but her silence felt heavy, like she knew the storm was coming. The next morning, Lauren called. Check your email, she said, her voice sharp. I opened my laptop, still in boxers. A video clip, grainy, from a hotel parking lot. Curtis and Caitlin arguing. He grabbed her arm. She pulled away, her face furious. You promised me a cut. She hissed loud enough for the mic. My blood froze. Caitlin wasn't just complicit. She was in on the scam, profiting from Curtis's fraud. My wife, my partner, was stealing from the company we'd both sworn to protect. I leaned back, the room spinning. Curtis's betrayal was one thing, a boss screwing over his team. But Caitlin, that cut deeper. I thought of our hikes, our late-night talks, Cooper curled between us. All lies. I poured a coffee, my hands steady now. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was personal. I had the photos, the video, the invoices. I had a revenge story brewing, and Curtis and Caitlin were about to learn what happens when you cross Nathan Lyle. Friday came. Curtis called another emergency meeting, 6 p.m. I sat across from him, my notepad blank, my eyes locked on his. Caitlin was there, typing, her earrings glinting. They thought they were safe, untouchable. I smiled, nodded, played the loyal manager. But inside I was rewriting their ending. Lauren was tailing them. Ethan was digging deeper, and Greg was prepping a case. The trap was set. This wasn't about yelling or fists. It was about outsmarting them, dismantling their world piece by piece. I left the meeting early, claiming a headache. Curtis barely noticed, too busy barking at the team. Caitlin glanced at me, her brow furrowed. I met her eyes, held them, then walked out. The Denver skyline glowed through the office windows, cold and sharp. I drove home, Cooper greeting me with a wagging tail. I scratched his ears, poured a whiskey, and opened my laptop. Lauren's latest file was waiting, bank records tied to Curtis with Caitlin's name on a joint account. They weren't just colleagues, they were partners in crime. I sat on my balcony, the Rockies looming in the distance, and planned my next move. Curtis and Caitlin thought they'd played me, thought I'd stay blind. They were wrong. This revenge story wasn't about breaking them. It was about building something stronger, a truth they couldn't escape, and I was just getting started. Denver's dusk was a cold fire, the skyline cutting sharp against my office window. I sat at my desk, Cooper's leash draped over the chair. My laptop open to Lauren's latest file, bank records, $200,000, siphoned through fake vendor invoices, Curtis Holbrook's email on every transfer, Caitlin's risk models masking the theft. My boss and my wife weren't just undermining me, they were gutting the firm. Their hotel nights mocked my 11-year marriage, their lies a blade to my 18 years at the company. I gripped my whiskey ice, clinking, and planned. This revenge story wasn't about breaking desks. It was about breaking their empire brick by brick. Monday slammed in. I walked into the firm, my boots heavy, my face a granite mask. Curtis was in his corner office, barking into his phone, his silver cufflink glinting. Caitlin was at her desk, her gold hoops catching the light, her fingers flying across her keyboard. She glanced up, her smile quick, hollow. I nodded, my jaw tight, and kept moving. The office pulsed, analysts crunching numbers, phones ringing, but to me it was a battlefield and I was already armed. I buried myself in a $15 million portfolio, but my real focus was their game. Lauren's photos, Curtis and Caitlin at the Brown Palace, her head on his shoulder, burned in my mind. Ethan's email log showed their private chain, encrypted but careless. Curtis had sent Caitlin a vendor list, inflating fees by $250,000, profits, funneled to a shell called Rocky Peak Solutions. I checked our finance system using my senior access. Rocky Peak was a ghost, no office, just a P.O. box in Boulder. Their signatures were all over it. I called Lauren at 1 p.m., meeting her at a diner off Colfax. Her jacket was scuffed, her coffee untouched. What's next? I asked, sliding into the booth. She pushed a folder across. Curtis is meeting a guy tonight. Owen Baxter, CFO at a rival Apex Wealth. Club 10 p.m. My source says it's about your portfolio algorithms. My blood surged. Apex was a $120 million giant, hungry for our clients. Curtis wasn't just stealing, he was selling my systems to sink us. Get me footage, I said, voice low. Lauren nodded. Cam's set visual only stays clean. I handed her $4,500 cash. Make it quick. Back at the office, I played normal, nodding at Curtis's memos, approving Caitlin's risk reports. But I watched their moves. Curtis left at 8 p.m., his briefcase bulging. Caitlin stayed late, her desk lamp the only glow in the dim office. I lingered, tweaking a report. At 9 p.m., she grabbed her coat and left. I followed. Tailing Caitlin was easy. Denver streets were my grid, her Audi a flare. She pulled into the club's lot where Curtis's Lexus sat. I parked a block away, Lauren's text pinging, Cam's live. Phone it. I opened her feed, a grainy angle from a corner booth. Curtis and Owen, ties loose, bourbon glasses, sweating. Caitlin slid in her hand, brushing Curtis's. Owen passed a USB drive. Curtis pocketed it, smirking. My algorithms, my sweat handed over like a bar tip. I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. I drove home, Cooper's tail thumping as I walked in. I poured a whiskey, opened my laptop, and dug into Rocky Peak Solutions. Ethan had cracked Curtis's personal email. The messages were sloppy, Curtis bragging to Owen about easy cash, Caitlin adjusting models to hide the theft. One email sent last month hit like a sledgehammer. Lyle's a mule. Keep him buried. Caitlin's reply, he's distracted. I'm on it. I leaned back, the whiskey burning. Caitlin wasn't just complicit, she was orchestrating. My wife, who'd hiked with me at dawn, was carving up my career. I called Greg, my lawyer, at 11 p.m. I've got more, I said, emailing the files. Embezzlement, data theft. Can we move? Greg's voice was grim. It's solid, Nate, but risky. Curtis has board connections. We need bank records, hard proof. I nodded, my mind racing. Then we hit harder. Tuesday I upped the game. I asked Ethan to flag Curtis's laptop for security updates, giving me remote access. By noon, I had his cloud drive client portfolios, my risk algorithms, a draft pitch to Apex for $1 million. Caitlin's model tweaks were embedded, her codes subtle but damning. I copied everything, my pulse steady. Curtis thought he was invincible. I was about to rewrite his rules. Caitlin felt the change. That night she cornered me in the garage, her arms crossed, her lavender perfume sharp. "You're pulling away, Nate. What's wrong?" Her voice was soft, almost desperate. I wanted to laugh. "Work's hell," I said, grabbing a wrench. "Curtis is screwing us all." Her face flickered, guilt, fear, I couldn't tell. "He's under fire," she said, stepping closer. "Talk to him." I looked at her, my wife, my enemy, and said, "I will." She nodded, relieved, and went inside. I stayed, the wrench heavy, my plan crystallizing. The first twist hit Wednesday morning. Lauren called at 5 a.m., her voice urgent. "Check your email." I opened my laptop, still in sweats. A photo timestamped last night. Caitlin leaving a tech startup in Lodo, not with Curtis. The man beside her was mid-50s, tailored suit, hard eyes. Lauren's note. His name's Victor Crane, consultant for Apex. She's playing both sides. My pulse spiked. Caitlin wasn't just Curtis's accomplice, she was double-crossing him, cutting a deal with Apex's fixer. I spent the day rattled. At the office, Curtis was all swagger, closing a $7 million portfolio. Caitlin ran a risk, briefing, her voice steady, her hoops gleaming. I watched from the back, my mind spinning. If Caitlin was working with Victor, she wasn't just stealing. She was positioning for a bigger prize, maybe Apex's payroll. I called Lauren. "What's her angle?" I asked. "Power," Lauren said. "Apex is offering her a VP slot if she delivers your algorithms. Curtis is the fall guy." I nodded, my jaw tight. Caitlin wasn't a pawn. She was the queen. That night I tailed her myself. She claimed a client dinner. I followed my truck, a shadow in Denver's sprawl. She drove to a law firm downtown, not a restaurant. I parked across the street, watching her walk in, her briefcase swinging. 20 minutes later, she emerged with a woman's 60s sharp blazer, commanding vibe. I snapped photos, sent them to Lauren. Her reply, Claire Novak, merger attorney. Specializes in hostile takeovers. My stomach dropped. Caitlin wasn't just selling algorithms, she was helping Apex swallow our firm whole. The second twist came Thursday. Ethan burst into my office, his face pale. "You're in trouble, Nate." He showed me a server log, my login timestamped last week, downloading sensitive data to an external drive. "I didn't do this," I said, my voice hollow. Ethan nodded, nervous. "Someone used your credentials. Looks real." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Caitlin. She'd framed me, setting me up as the leak if her plan went south. If our CEO Ellen Carver saw this, I was fired, maybe arrested. I called Greg, sent the logs. "Can you fight it?" I asked. He sighed. "It's bad, Nate. Your IP, your password. We need proof it's a setup." I hung up, my hands shaking. The office felt like a trap, every coworker's glance a judgment. I grabbed my laptop and bolted, driving to Lauren's office, a cramped space above a brewery. "Find her," I said, pacing. "Caitlin's behind this." Lauren didn't flinch. "She's meeting Victor tomorrow, warehouse district. I'll get you eyes." Friday I played the part. Curtis called a team meeting, praising my portfolio work, the work he'd sold. Caitlin handed out reports, her smile perfect. I nodded, my face blank, my anger a coiled spring. After work I followed Lauren's directions to the warehouse district, a maze of steel and shadows. Caitlin's Audi was parked near a storage unit, Victor's sedan beside it. I stayed back, Lauren's hidden cams streaming to my phone. They were inside, voices muffled, exchanging folders. Victor handed her a key, safe deposit, likely. She nodded, her face cold, and left. I tailed her to a bank where she accessed a 24-hour ATM. Lauren's tracker confirmed its safe deposit box hit at 10 p.m. I didn't know what she'd stashed, cash contracts evidence, but it was her lifeline. Back home, Cooper greeted me, his warmth grounding me. I poured a whiskey, opened my laptop, and got Ethan's latest find, a deleted email from Caitlin to Claire Novak, outlining a takeover bid. Apex wanted our firm's patents, clients, everything. Caitlin's price, $1,500,000 in a corner office. Saturday I got an anonymous text, "Check your office. Top shelf." No sender, but Caitlin's phrasing was clear. I drove to the firm, the building empty, my steps echoing. On my shelf, a flash drive unmarked. I plugged it in, my pulse racing. A single file, a forged contract, my signature, selling my algorithms to Apex for $400,000. Caitlin's final move framed me, ruined me, walk away clean. I copied it, sent it to Greg, and called Lauren. She's pinning it on me, I said. Lauren's voice was steady. Then we pin her first. Sunday I met Ellen Carver at her country club away from prying eyes. You need to see this, I said, handing her a USB drive. Curtis's invoices, Caitlin's emails, the forged contract. I kept the frame job quiet for now. This stays between us, I said. Ellen's eyes narrowed. If this holds, they're gone. I drove home, the Rockies fading in my rear view. The trap was tightening, but Caitlin was sharp. Victor a ghost. I needed more. Monday. Ellen called Curtis to her office. He walked out an hour later, his face gray, his cufflink dull. Caitlin was next, her heels clicking, her expression unreadable. I watched from my desk, my heart steady. At 3 p.m. Ellen emailed the leadership security audit tomorrow. All systems locked. Curtis's office was cleared by 5 p.m. security escorting him out. Caitlin kept working, her desk untouched, but her eyes darted to me just once. I held her gaze, my victory silent. That night, Caitlin came home late, her coat damp from the rain. We need to talk, she said, her voice shaking. I followed her to the living room, Cooper watching from his bed. I know you're behind this, she said, her eyes blazing. The audit, Curtis's exit, it's you. I leaned back, my voice cold. You framed me, Caitlin. Sold my work, betrayed the firm. Why? Her face crumpled just for a second. Curtis forced me, she whispered. He had leverage debts from years ago. I had to. I laughed, sharp and cold. You chose Apex. She looked away, her hands trembling. I'm sorry, Nate. Let me fix it. I stood towering over her. You're out of time. She grabbed her bag and left, the door slamming. Cooper whimpered. I didn't move. Lauren called at midnight. Caitlin's at a motel alone. Victor's gone dark, no trace. I nodded, my mind clear. Caitlin wasn't just running from me. She was running from Apex, from Curtis, from her own lies. But I wasn't done. I sat on my balcony, the city lights flickering, and planned. Curtis was down, but Caitlin was slippery, Victor a ghost. The audit would expose them, but I needed proof to clear my name, to lock them in their own cage. I opened my laptop. Ethan's final file waiting, a back door, and Caitlin's email, her last message to Victor, Nathan's onto us. Move the assets now. I smiled, my whiskey warm. They thought they'd played me. They were about to learn what happens when you underestimate Nathan Lyle. Denver's dawn was a steel blade rain slicing the skyline outside my office window. I sat at my desk, Cooper's leash coiled on the chair, my laptop open to Ethan's latest find, Caitlin's email to Victor Crane sent at 4 a.m. Lyle's closing in. Secure the deal now. She'd framed me as the traitor, forged my signature on a contract selling my portfolio algorithms, and planned to vanish with Apex Wealth's payout. Curtis Holbrook was gone, escorted out by security, his fraud laid bare. But Caitlin was a ghost slipping through the audit's grip, her motel hideout empty. This wasn't over. I was Nathan Lyle, and I built my victories on truth, not chaos. Tuesday morning, I strode into the firm, my boots steady on the polished floor. Ellen Carver, our CEO, gave me a curt nod, her eyes sharp with the trust I was still proving. The security audit was a vice server's frozen emails, sealed auditors dissecting financials. The forged contract pinning me as the leak was a noose around my neck. If Ellen saw it, I'd lose my job, my reputation, maybe more. I needed to clear my name and bury Caitlin's lies before she could bolt. I called Lauren Pierce, my PI, at 8 a.m., meeting her at a dive bar off Larimer Street. Her coffee was cold, her eyes sharper than ever. Caitlin's on the move, she said, sliding a photo across the table. Caitlin at a bus depot. Her Audi gone, a backpack slung over her shoulder. Victor's still in Denver penthouse downtown. My source says he's pushing her to deliver your algorithms. My jaw tightened. What's in her safe deposit box? Lauren shrugged. Contracts, cash, maybe leverage. She's not running empty. I handed her $4,000 cash. Get me access. She nodded. 2 days. I drove back to the office, the Rockies a gray shadow in my rear view. Caitlin wasn't just betraying me. She was outmaneuvering Apex, Curtis, everyone. I had to move faster. At work, tension crackled. Curtis's office was a void, his nameplate gone. Caitlin's desk sat empty, her sick leave a thin excuse. I watched the team, their whispers heavy, and dove into a $18 million portfolio, playing the portfolio manager. But my real work was with Ethan. Ethan met me in the server room at noon, the machine's hum masking our words. I cracked her back door, he said, voice low. Caitlin used your login for the forgery, but she slipped up public Wi-Fi coffee shop last month. Her laptop's tagged. My pulse quickened. Can you tie it to her? He nodded. IPs linked to her personal device, logs sent to Greg. I clapped his shoulder. Keep it tight. He nodded, uneasy. She's cornered Nate. That's dangerous. Greg, my lawyer, called at 2 p.m. The logs are gold, he said, voice electric. They clear you forgery fraud, all on Caitlin. But the box is key. If she's got Apex's contracts, it's federal. I hung up my hands steady. The audit was tightening, but Caitlin was slippery Victor a shadow. I needed to cut their strings. The first twist hit that night. Lauren texted at 9 p.m. Victor's bailing. Meeting Apex's board, 10 p.m. private lounge. Caitlin's cutout. My stomach churned. Victor Crane. Apex's fixer was abandoning her, selling her out to save himself. I called Lauren. Is Caitlin spooked? Her voice was grim. Big time. Hit the safe deposit box at 7 p.m., pulled something small, maybe a drive. I gripped my phone, rang louder now. Caitlin wasn't just running, she was desperate, and desperation breeds mistakes. Wednesday, I tailed her myself. Ethan flagged her laptop at a co-working space in Reno. I followed my truck, a shadow in Denver's dusk. She drove to a consulting firm, not a client's office. I parked across the street, Lauren's binoculars steady. Caitlin met a woman, late 50s, tailored suit, sharp gaze. They talked for 20 minutes, Caitlin passing a slim folder. I snapped photos, sent them to Lauren. Her reply, Sarah Klein, corporate broker, handles acquisitions. My chest tightened. Caitlin wasn't just selling my algorithms, she was liquidating our firm's future, negotiating a solo payout. The second twist landed Thursday morning. Ethan rushed into my office, his face ashen. You're exposed, Nate. He showed an internal memo circulated to the board, time-stamped last night. It accused me of data theft, citing my login on the forged contract. It's not Ellen, Ethan said. Caitlin's got a board ally pushing it. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. She'd weaponized her frame job, trying to bury me before the audit exposed her. If the board bought it, I was finished. I called Greg, forwarded the memo. Can you kill this? I asked. He exhaled. It's rough, Nate. The logs clear you, but the board's spooked. We need the box, hard evidence now. I hung up the office, closing in. Every coworker's glance felt like a blade. I grabbed my laptop and drove to Lauren's office, a dive above a taco joint. Where's Caitlin? I demanded, pacing. Lauren leaned back. Motel, but she's moving. I've got a guy on the box, bank opens at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thursday night. Caitlin came home, her eyes hollow, her lavender perfume faded. Nate, we need to talk, she said, her voice trembling. I followed her to the kitchen, Cooper watching from his bed. I know you're doing this, she said, her hands shaking. The audit, Curtis, it's you. I leaned against the counter, my voice ice. You framed me, Caitlin, stole my work, sold the firm. Why? Her face cracked. Curtis trapped me, she whispered. He had dirt, old loans, my past. I had no choice. I laughed, cold and sharp. You chose Apex. She flinched, tears falling. I'm sorry, Nate. Let me make it right. I towered over her. You don't fix this. She grabbed her keys and bolted the door, slamming. Cooper whined. I didn't chase her. Lauren called at midnight. Caitlin's at a new motel alone. Victor's with Apex, cutting a deal. I nodded, my mind clear. Caitlin was running from everyone, me, Apex, her lies. But I was closing the gap. The third twist hit Friday morning. Lauren delivered, meeting me at the diner, a flash drive in hand. Safe deposit box, patents, $200,000 in bonds, a burner phone. Text to Sarah Klein confirming a $1 million deal. My pulse raced. Caitlin's endgame, sell our algorithms, pocket the cash, vanish. I sent the drive to Greg, who forwarded it to Ellen. This is federal, he said. FBI's looping in. Stay back. I didn't. I drove to the office where Ellen called a board meeting. Caitlin was there, her face pale, her hoops gone. Curtis's absence hung heavy, his fraud a scar. Ellen dropped the hammer. We've uncovered embezzlement, data theft, sabotage. She didn't name Caitlin, but her eyes locked on her. The board voted to suspend her pending investigation. Security escorted her out, her briefcase confiscated. She didn't look at me, but I felt her gaze burning. The fourth twist came that afternoon. Greg called, his voice tense. "Caitlin left a package at the firm for you." Ellen opened it. I sped over my truck, screaming through Denver's streets. In Ellen's office, a letter handwritten from Caitlin. "Nate, I framed you to stop Curtis. He was the leak, not me. I tried to save us." Attached was a USB drive, emails dated 18 months ago. Caitlin flagging Curtis's invoice spikes to Ellen. Ellen hadn't listened. Was it true? Or another lie? I leaned back, the office quiet. Caitlin's letter didn't erase her crimes, the forged contract, the Apex deal, the conspiracy. But it shifted something. I'd seen her as the mastermind, but maybe she'd been caught playing a game she couldn't win. Ellen watched me. "You're cleared," she said, "and VP of Investments is yours." I nodded, but my heart wasn't in it. "I need time," I said. She didn't push. Caitlin vanished. Lauren tracked her to a train station, then nothing. The feds had her patents, bonds, burner phone. Charges were coming, fraud, conspiracy, maybe more. Curtis was cooperating, spilling everything to lighten his sentence. Apex Wealth was reeling, their takeover bid dead, their reputation in ashes. The firm stabilized my algorithm, secure my name clean. I sold the Cherry Creek house, moved to a loft in Lodo, just me and Cooper. The old place was too heavy, Caitlin's trail mix, our rocky hikes, Cooper's tail thumping. I took the VP role, but it felt like a borrowed coat. I kept managing, kept building, but trust was a ghost. One night I got an email, "No sender, I tried to save us." Caitlin's words cutting like steel. I deleted it, poured a whiskey, and stepped onto my balcony. The Denver skyline gleamed, the city lights distant. I thought of her letter, her warning, her lies. Had she fought for the firm or for herself? I thought of Curtis, humbled, his empire dust. And I thought of me, Nathan Lyle, the man who'd faced a conspiracy and stood tall. The fifth twist came 6 weeks later. Lauren dropped by, her jeans swapped for a blazer. One last thing she said, handing me a flash drive. Found it in Caitlin's storage unit, tucked in a safe. I plugged it in, my pulse steady. A voice memo, low res, dated 2 years ago. Caitlin in our kitchen talking to Curtis, her voice tense. "This is wrong, Curtis. Nate's too good. He'll figure it out." Curtis laughed. "Let him try." The memo ended, but the truth landed hard. Caitlin had hesitated, maybe even resisted, before she fell too deep. I leaned back, Cooper's head on my knee. The memo didn't change her betrayal, the frame job, the Apex deal, the conspiracy. But it cracked the narrative. I'd won, saved the firm, cleared my name, rebuilt. But at what cost? The man who'd loved Caitlin, who'd trusted Curtis, was gone. I raised my glass to the night, to the scars that shaped me. What would you have done? Forgiven her, let her fade, or fought to the end? Tell me, because I'm still wrestling with it. Did I reclaim my life or just survive it? Your call. You're here because this story meant something. Don't scroll away without leaving a thought and your subscription. Revenge with Luke is where real stories find their voice and yours.